Hi Business 171 students. This module we're going to be talking about self-awareness and self-management and how that plays out in the workplace. Self-awareness is mindfulness of different aspects of who you are. This includes internal traits and preferences, behaviors, values, things that make up who you are and how you interact with other people. High self-awareness is the strongest predictor of overall success. Employers are looking for a high level of self-awareness in their employees. This is because you have a better chance of managing yourself if you are aware of tendencies that you have. Self-awareness develops like onions, layers after layers, in cumulative consolidation. So you have to think of it more like a staircase. So when you're young, you have sort of a low level of self-awareness, and over time, the more you have to problem solve, the more you have to, face challenges, the higher you get on that staircase of self-awareness. So you can definitely grow in self-awareness, and that's part of why we want to go over this today. So self-awareness is being honest with yourself about who you are, both as a worker and as a person. And the important aspect of self-awareness is that people who are self-aware can handle criticism. And there's a thing called cognitive bias that makes a lot of people unable to recognize their own incompetencies. But if you have self-awareness, then you have a better chance of recognizing incompetencies and handling criticism. So this is like in cognitive bias, the more incompetent we are, the more we tend to overestimate our abilities because we don't know what we don't know. But in a work scenario, employers are looking for people who can handle that criticism and are not holding on to their own understandings, and you are able to navigate through challenges and like I said, criticism better and in a more positive way. So researchers say there are two types of self-awareness. There's internal self-awareness, and this is how we see our own values, aspirations, and behaviors. And then there's external awareness, and this is how we understand how people view our own traits and behaviors and values. So it's really about us understanding our internal processes and then knowing how it affects other people. So an important aspect of self-awareness is understanding your personality preferences. Preferences are not fixed things. A good example is I am left-handed, and my preference is to be left-handed and write left-handed. But that doesn't mean that I can't write right-handed if I need it to. So that's a preference that I have, and it's therefore a personality trait of mine that I'm left-handed. Or you could just say a trait. It's a trait of mine that I'm left-handed. So understanding our personality preferences is really important in increasing our self-awareness. That's why this week I'm having you guys take the VI Strengths Test and the Myers-Briggs Personality Test. Both of these tests identify preferences that you guys have in certain aspects of your personality, and then therefore increase your own self-awareness. So the VIA test, the strengths test that I had you guys take, identifies unique positive qualities that you have and we all have. So this was developed by a team of psychologists. They kind of identified 24 signature strengths, potential strengths that each human being can possess. And then we kind of the test and narrows down your signature strengths, which are these positive traits that a person owns and you frequently use. So there's up to 5 signature strengths that you frequently use. You might have all the other ones, but these are the ones that you use the most. And in the work setting, employees with the ability to use those signature strengths are increased in morale and work performance and just overall harmony. So if you have the ability to use your signature strengths in a job that you are in, you have a higher likelihood of enjoying your work and having a higher performance. The Myers-Briggs test was created by a mother-daughter duo in an effort to help people understand their tendencies and behaviors. The test is a form of self-reflection. It's supposed to just help increase your own self-awareness. There's no right or wrong to the test. It's just to demonstrate sort of who you might be and how you interact with life. The creators claimed that differences in behavior are the result of different tendencies that people have in using their minds, which means that people behave differently because they tend to interact with life differently. And so this test is going to help you understand how you interact with life. The important note to take into consideration is that your 4 letter results, whatever you get in your 4 letters, it can change and be influenced as you change and are influenced. So Myers-Briggs, they kind of sifted personalities down into 16 different categories. So when you take the test, you're going to fall into one of 16 of those categories. And over time, as you grow older or as you interact with different scenarios, your decision making process, the way you take in information, those types of things might change, which then would mean your letters will change. There's no good or bad letters. There's no good or bad results. It's just to help you get a better understanding of how you interact with the world. The first category that Myers and Briggs identified was how are you energized as a person? You can be introverted or extroverted, and these are kind of the characteristics of introverted and extroverted people. So, introverted people are energized through quiet times or solitude and ideas. These are the kind of people that will go away to sort of re energize and then be able to give back to society by going back out. But they're not usually energized by talking to people. They kind of feel more drained by talking to people. And the cool thing about introverts is that they report a higher level of contentment than extroverted people. And that's partly because they aren't necessarily looking for the same type of satisfactions from life as extroverted people are looking for. So, for example, introverted people are looking more for meaning rather than happiness. And they actually prefer more neutral emotional states. So that looks more like relaxed and calm. And those are kind of the emotional states that introverts are trying to get to. Now, on the other hand, there's the extroverts, and extroverts are energized through contact with people and engaging activities. So, kind of on the other spectrum, extroverts report a high level of happiness, which would kind of be more of a higher emotional state than like what an introvert would be looking for. They feel positive emotions really strongly, and they usually have kind of cheerful dispositions. And so that's sort of a pro to being an extrovert, and why society seems to have sort of embraced extroverted people is because they generally are just more people. If they deal with people better, or they can interact with people in a more comfortable area. So job wise, the best fit for jobs for introverted people are jobs that require solitude or introspection. So counselors, computer programmers, writers, and scientists. And then extroverted people are best fit for jobs that need cheerful dispositions and an ability to interact with other people. Public relations, nurses, doctors, service industry, people along those lines. The second category that Myers and Briggs have you test for is how you take in information. So this is how you absorb what's going on around you. Now, there are people who are sensors, and there's people who have intuition. And these aren't, like I said, nothing is right or wrong. It's just kind of how people prefer to take in their information. So people who sense pay attention to what they perceive through their 5 senses: seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, and tasting. They live in the now, they're logical and detail orientated, and they like facts. Now, people who have intuition tendencies, they pay attention to their gut feelings, the unseen world. meanings that people might be hiding that you might be able to kind of sort of discover on your own just by seeing what's going on around you, hunches, insights, that type of way. They like to fantasize about the future or present possibilities, and they're kind of theoretical and inspired. The third category for Myers and Briggs is how you make decisions. You can be a thinker or a feeler when it comes to how you're going to make decisions that affect other people and affect you. Thinkers make decisions based off of cause and effect reasoning. They are pretty impartial, they're sort of logic based, they think more with their head, and they're sort of objective thinkers and make decisions easily. Feelers, on the other hand, make decisions off of their own values and strengths. A lot of their decisions are surrounded around the people that their decision would affect, and they really seek harmony. They make decisions with their heart over their mind, and they're compassionate and don't like conflict. The final category is how you approach life. You can either approach life judging or through perception. Now, this is how you want to organize your activities. This is the best way, the most efficient way that you think getting your life accomplished is. And so people who are J's tend to get things decided quickly. They want to have ordered and structured life with goals. And so they generally tend to be good decision makers and pretty, logical and just efficient. People with perception, the P's, they sort of gather information. They're much more flexible. They kind of roll with the punches, and they can kind of live a spontaneous sort of life that stays open to new possibilities. So after you have this self-awareness, what do we do with it? That's where we go into mindfulness and self-management. So mindfulness is this understanding of the consequences of your self-awareness or of your personality. You are able to see what you do and how it affects others, and that is, creates a mindfulness for your situation. And then self-management is this apex of the self-awareness pyramid, and it helps us influence and control our behaviors for optimal outcomes. So first you have to be self-aware, then you have to have mindfulness of how your actions affect others, and then you have to manage your behaviors through self-management in order to get the outcomes you want. So a good example in the work setting is if you know that you have the trait of procrastination, and then you become mindful that when you wait too long to get something done, you have consequences, whether that's poor work or maybe it gets done late or something along those lines. Then you go into self-management where you decide rather than procrastinating, you will try to get it done earlier so you can do a better job. And that's kind of the whole process of self-awareness up to self-management and what that's going to look like in the work world.